Picture this. You're sitting in a meeting and you are just completely mesmerized by someone's incredibly smooth, polished presentation. But then, maybe a few hours or days later, it hits you. They had absolutely no idea what they were actually talking about. Sound familiar? Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to unpack a super fascinating psychological phenomenon. What happens when mere polish masquerades as genuine ability? And, more importantly, we're going to look at how we can rewire our own thinking to value real substance over flashy style.
Here's our quick roadmap for This Explainer. We'll kick things off with the confidence illusion, then tackle the famous Dunning-Kruger effect. From there, we'll dive into the confidence gender gap, explore why moderate confidence is actually your secret weapon, and finally, wrap up with some solid steps for building true competence.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the confidence illusion. In so many areas of our society, especially if you look at corporate boardrooms, we absolutely love to reward a bold, confident stance. But before we can really deconstruct this illusion, we got to get our definition straight. At its core, confidence is simply the feeling of belief or trust that a person or a thing is reliable. Self-confidence, then, is just trust in yourself. It's a very general, overarching belief that you can basically accomplish whatever you set out to do in the future.
Now, let's contrast that with a buzzword we hear all the time: self-esteem. This is an evaluation of your own worth. And here's the crucial distinction. Feeling like you are a worthy person, which is high self-esteem, is not exactly the same thing as trusting your ability to, say, execute a really complex project.
And that brings us to a really game-changing concept originally coined by psychologist Albert Bandura: self-efficacy. Think of this as your targeted belief in your ability to accomplish a very specific task or goal. See, general self-confidence is this broad personality trait, but self-efficacy, that is laser-focused. You could have pretty low general confidence in your daily life, but boast incredibly high self-efficacy when it comes to a specific skill you've totally mastered, like coding or public speaking. Actually, keeping these exact distinctions in mind is the master key to seeing right through the confidence illusion.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Okay, be honest. Have you ever worked with someone who was wildly overconfident, yet entirely incompetent at their job? You definitely are alone. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect in action. It's basically like wearing a muscle suit made out of cardboard. People with low ability tend to vastly overestimate their own competence, and because they project such a convincing, bulletproof facade, they actually persuade everyone around them that they're highly skilled. High performers, on the flip side, do rate themselves higher than low performers do, but they stay much closer to reality. The real danger here? Our brains are naturally gullible. We get tricked by the low performer's inflated ego, and we buy into their fake facade rather than looking at the cold, hard facts.
Which takes us to Section 3, the confidence gender gap.
So what exactly happens when you take this psychological illusion and apply it at a massive scale? Well, look at this data. It is absolutely staggering. A massive study looking at over 985,000 people across 48 different countries found that men consistently show higher self-esteem than women. And what's wild is that this gap is even wider in Western countries like the US and Australia. This isn't just an interesting trivia fact, it has major real-life repercussions. It directly impacts who actually raises their hand for a promotion and who ultimately lands in top leadership roles, mostly because we're still handing out those jobs based on projected confidence instead of raw, undeniable capability.
To see how this actually plays out in the real world, let me tell you about a tech manager named Mike. Mike's team was 97% male. He desperately wanted to hire more women, but they just weren't applying. When they finally audited his job postings, they found these massive, intimidating lists of essential requirements. Men, who generally exhibit higher confidence, would just apply anyway, even if they only met a few criteria, figuring, hey, I'll learn on the job. Women, however, were disqualifying themselves if they didn't check literally every single box. So Mike tweaked it. He shifted to inclusive language, trimmed down the rigid essentials, and added welcoming phrases like, "You'll grow these skills with us." The result? A massive surge in highly qualified female applicants who previously would have just clicked away. Simple changes, massive impact.
But listen, when the wrong people get promoted just because they put on a confident show, the cost is astronomical. $438 billion. According to a 2024 Gallup report, that staggering figure is the estimated global lost productivity tied directly to falling employee engagement. And you know what tanks engagement faster than anything else? You guessed it. Employees consistently cite unsupportive, narcissistic, or overly self-assured managers as the #1 reason they hate their jobs. Overconfident leaders who oversell their skills end up creating highly toxic cultures full of blame, frustration, and just rock-bottom morale.
All right, let's pivot to section 4, why moderate confidence wins.
This leads us perfectly to flipping the script entirely. If extreme confidence is basically a magic trick, what is the alternative? Well, check out this quote from psychologist Tomasz Chamorro-Premuzic. He says, if your confidence is low rather than extremely low, you stand a better chance of succeeding than if you have high self-confidence. I know, that sounds totally counterintuitive, right? It goes against literally everything we're taught about faking it till we make it, but the psychological data doesn't lie. Moderate confidence actually outperforms extreme arrogance time and time again.
And here is exactly why a slightly lower, moderate confidence gives you such a massive edge. First off, it makes you actually welcome criticism. When you have a healthy dose of self-doubt, you pay close attention to negative feedback so you can fix your flaws. Second, it drives your preparation. When you aren't completely convinced you can just wing it, you do the homework, you practice, you put in the late hours. And finally, it completely saves you from the arrogance trap. It keeps you grounded, it keeps you modest, and it keeps you coachable. Basically, you become the kind of person people actually want to work with.
Which brings us to our final section, building true competence.
So how do we actually cure this toxic fake-it-till-you-make-it culture? Organizational psychologist Adam Grant hits the nail on the head here. He says, confidence doesn't always come from believing in yourself today. It often comes from recalling the obstacles you have overcome along the way. This is a total paradigm shift. True confidence isn't some empty, blind belief that you're just inherently awesome. It's a historical track record of your resilience, it's your proven skills, it's something you actually have to earn. So if you want to close the gap between where you are right now and where you want to be, here are 4 highly actionable strategies you can start using today. Number 1, adopt reflective practices. Start a leadership journal. Track your wins, your total flops, and the hard lessons you've picked up along the way. Number 2, seek structured feedback. Actively invite constructive criticism and use tools like 360-degree reviews to expose your blind spots. Number 3, embrace a growth mindset. Treat challenges as exciting opportunities to stretch your abilities, not as massive threats to your ego. And number 4, invest in skills building. Just do the actual work. Let your self-confidence grow organically out of the real, tangible competence you are building day after day.
To wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final, provocative thought to take into your next meeting, your next hiring cycle, or even the next time you vote. The next time you find yourself totally blown away by someone's slick, polished presentation, I want you to hit pause, take a step back, and ask yourself, are you actually buying their competence, or are you just buying their confidence? Challenge yourself to look right past the illusion, demand the evidence of real skill, and most importantly, get out there and focus on building your own true competence. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep learning.